seem to have gotten it all over your foot there. Okay, and welcome back to the Good Morning Flange Goblet Show. I'm Clifton Lifton, and still with me as always is Clara Tuff,
Butter kisses,
Marcus Shea Pitts,
Toots,
Fenella Poltroid, and the happy morning Flange Goblet Goat, still in his cherished pixie hat and eating a pile of gourmet ant eggs prepared by our very own Good Morning Flange Goblet chef, the ghost of robotic Elvis.
I don't like it.
And as we come to the close now on our show, we just have time to run down some of the exciting things we have coming up on the show this week. Tuesday, and you can expect it to get all racy in here when we're joined by Formula One head case and well-known puncher of elks, Henry All Over Your Money, and he'll be showing us what he can do with a common household whisk, a picture of the Queen, and a vat of freshly whipped lard. Wednesday, and Clara will be out on patrol with some hunchback Norwegian herring prodders attempting to get a picture of Kenny Dalglish roaming the Highlands in search of Craig Bellamy's crop of magic cheese biscuits. And I'll be in the studio talking to some naked hikers from Cleethorpes, all of whom claim to have tracked, caught, shaved and eaten a real-life unicorn one rainy night in Sutton-on-Sea. Thursday, we'll be interviewing Anthea Turner as she attempts to nail a duck to her face. And on Friday, it's non-stop outrageous fun as we are joined in the studio by a fleet of sickly Jeremy Clarkson impersonators being dragged behind a flatulent donkey who this week will be ridden by a tiny man dressed as a walnut. They'll be accompanied by the Colwyn Bay Brigadiers Thigh-Slapping Club and some trombone-playing nuns we found round the back of Waitrose trying to find a suitable explanation for why they were all several months pregnant and drunker than Peter O'Toole at a whiskey bathing contest. We'll also be showing you how to knit your very own Jeremy Paxman, build an air raid shelter out of your mother's discarded surgical supports, and take over the entire Eastern Bloc using nothing but a matchbox and some naughty playing cards. Until then, it's goodbye from me, Clara,
oh, it tickles.
Marcus, no, Fenella.
Thank you. I'm almost there. It's been a lovely show. I just wanted to say now.
And the goat.
Bollocks.
Cheerio. Listen, a little bit of lemon juice and it'll wipe right out, no problem. Two inches further down, Constable. Wait a minute. Sorry, nodded off there for a moment. It's my wife's fault. She kept me up all last night with her Latvian drum circle, who all showed up to knock a bloody great hole in our wall. And now, the after-movie diner, which this week is recorded on special tape, which has been licked by Zeus himself. Fuck writes this stuff. Welcome one and welcome all, be ye clothed or be ye nay. And welcome to this, yet another episode of the After Movie Diner, the extraordinarily obnoxious intro beginning right now. And I would just like to say that we are extremely excited about tonight's episode. It is marvellous. And to kick it off, start the show with a bang, we are incredibly happy, proud, honoured, pert, and excited to introduce back onto the show a Mr. Matthew Farley. Yes, that's right. Recently I went up to, well, not that recently, but sort of recently, I went up to Massachusetts and I was in a film. I had a small little cameo in Local Legends, which will all be discussed in the upcoming interview. So please take a listen to this, the Diner interview with Matt Farley. Alright, so I'm sitting here again with Matt Farley, director of a new film that's coming out. You will have heard it on the show previously that We've covered Freaky Farley. Now you have to tell me murders, marriage, and monsters. Monsters, murders, and marriage.
Monsters, marriage, and murder.
Okay, so the third time lucky.
In Vegas.
Yeah. And then the most recent one, which was Don't Let the River Beast Get You. And now you're working on a new film, sir, just by yourself, without Charlie.
That's right.
And what's that one called?
It's called Local Legends, and it's a Woody Allen-esque introspective examination of small-time comedy people.
And where did the inspiration come from? You done some yourself?
Yeah, I've been doing stand-up comedy since 2006, and I've gotten into lots of funny misadventures with a lot of crazy characters, and I've just kind of collected all these stories and kind of thrown them together for this.
Cool. And is there a particular style or influence that you're going for with the film? Is it more serious in tone, or are you maintaining the slightly light-hearted feel of the other movies you've done?
It's a different tone from the other movies for sure, because we're going for realistic. I mean,
right.
River Beast takes place in a world that couldn't possibly exist.
No, don't tell me that.
And this one's a little more realistic. Of course, it's a comedy, but it's very much based in reality, and definitely Woody Allen, Annie Hall, Stardust Memory style is what I'm going for.
Cool. And who's in it that we would know of, that we've heard of? You, obviously.
Yeah, me. My wife, Elizabeth Peterson is her stage name, and she's in The River Beast. And
right.
Sharon Scalzo, who's in all the other movies, she's back again. And it's autobiographical movie, so it gets very complicated, because in the movie my name is Matt Farley,
right.
but Sharon's name is Abby.
Right.
And in the movie, Freaky Farley is a movie that exists, and Sharon's in it, but we don't refer to that. So we actually see scenes of Freaky Farley within the movie Local Legends, but
right.
I'm going to have to be careful to make sure it's none of the ones that Sharon is in.
Sharon's in.
Yeah.
It's a shame, because you and Sharon's relationship in that movie is sort of central and pivotal.
For sure. I don't know enough actresses to to be able to get a brand new person to play this role. But also,
you legally have to put Sharon in every movie, right?
Yes, but even if it was not required contractually, we would do it.
And is Tom in this one as well?
Yep, Tom plays Tom.
Okay.
Most of us play ourselves, except for the girls. Pretty much, yeah. You're John Cross.
Well, yeah, I didn't know who I was meant to be, so I just, when he asked, "Oh, what's your last name?" I was like, "Oh, I'll be myself, I guess."
It's easier to remember who's who if you go by your real name.
Yeah.
Reason one and reason two is it's a good self-promotional device.
Of course, yeah, of course. So what's the ultimate goal of doing the film? Is it just for fun, and what's the plan afterwards?
I mean, I've wanted to do this as 2001. I had the idea of, I just always thought the creative stuff that we do on this small-time basis is worthy of being celebrated in film.
Documentary.
But not documentary, though. I mean, fiction. But documented. Okay, yes, you're right. And so at that point, I hadn't done enough, though, to really have the right to make a movie about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So 10 years later, it's like, all right, I've got a bunch of songs that are funny. I can use those and drop those in the movie. I got a bunch of jokes. I can use those. I got a bunch of stories of things that have happened to me.
Yeah.
Made some movies, and it just encapsulates everything I've been doing for 5-10 years.
That's great. And then what will you do with the film once it's finished?
Once it's finished, I'm just gonna make 300 DVDs, send them around, and drop it on YouTube, and move on to the next project.
See what's what. And what is the next project, if you don't mind me asking?
Probably Slingshot Cops. Buddy.
You won't do another thing until Slingshot Cops?
I got to see how this goes. How much time is this going to take me? But there is the paparazzi and the photogs feature where my bizarre paparazzi character. It's a full vehicle.
Which I can't wait to see. Other people might not like it, but I can't wait to see
a full comedic vehicle for paparazzi delights me in the thought that it's so painful in so many ways, and just to go with it 100%, a world where paparazzi just gets into misadventures would be...
Sure.
I would... It's on the list, but, you can only go to the well so many times in terms of getting your actors together and whatnot, and you have to pick and choose, and it's like, do I really want to call in another favor for this what's sure to be a terrible movie?
Well, if you decide to have paparazzi come to New York, we'll
Yeah,
chip
okay. That would be fun, the sequel. I'm already thinking about sequel Paparazzi 2. Paparazzi in New York City.
But that seems to be what happened, like when Sacha Baron Cohen does his movies, it's all about his foreigners coming to New York.
Yeah.
Coming to America or whatever. So I guess you could kind of do that.
Yeah.
But, so give us just one example, like you say, okay, local legends about... Give us one example of like a small story, if it's possible. I don't know the script,
no, totally.
Of something that happened to you that's been now put in the script.
True story is once in college, a girl told me that she had... Billy Joel came up somehow in conversation, and I told her...
Doesn't he always, though?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
And I said, well, I love Billy Joel, have every one of his albums. And she said, me too. And I was blown away. I'm like, this is unbelievable. What girl in the world has every Billy Joel album?
Right.
And she invites me to see them in her dorm room.
Yes.
1 in the morning.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is great.
Yes.
I'm going to look at her Billy Joel albums and get there. Greatest Hits Volume 1, 2, and 3. That's it. And
that's
so
fantastic.
I searched her collection, found those, and she was like, yeah, that's it. And
Wow.
I just left rather than lecturing her on the fact that you can't have greatest hits.
Right. You don't think she was asking you back to the dorm room for an ulterior motive?
Only years later did it dawn on me. I'm like, wait a second.
She was saying she had them all for
She
someone.
wanted to kiss me. Yeah.
I have to say,
Yeah.
as a fellow like lifelong music and film fan that's passionate about that, I cherish your integrity in that particular scenario.
Yeah, false pretenses or whatever the proper term is. But so that's a key. That's the opening scene. That's
a good scene, man. I like it.
It's going to start off Farley doing. I already filmed a 5-minute comedy set at a comedy club. Then I talk to the girl outside, and then she invites me up. And
do you use Billy Joel?
It's Billy Joel. It's
nice.
like pretty much word for word.
If you can reference Joel in any respect.
Yeah, well, he's an underappreciated songwriter. I really believe that.
I don't know whether it's like getting older or whatever, but I honestly agree with you.
Yeah,
I do honestly agree.
I mean, I grew up on him. Yeah, I'm a piano player myself, so I'm really. But like Paul McCartney, he gets a lot of flack, I find, for being melodic too. You know.
I don't know why.
Not so edgy.
He gets a lot of
you know
flack.
what I mean?
I know why McCartney gets a lot of flack, because McCartney goes out and talks about how great he is, but Billy Joel doesn't.
Billy's just hanging out.
Talk
in his
about how
mansion.
great he is.
Yeah, I know. He keeps to himself. Really, I mean.
Right. I mean, some of his music videos are a bit ludicrous, but weren't they all in the 80s?
But what a guy! What in 1993 to just say, "Yeah, I'm done."
Yeah.
And he just stopped. That's pretty interesting for sure. You know?
Although I like the track. Didn't he do the track with Ray Charles after that? I did like that very much.
No, that was in '86, the Baby Grand.
That was as far back as that was.
Yeah, but he did do one big band song in like 5 years ago, just a single. But so we got that. That's the kind of story we're looking at, and so my inability.
Sorry, we went off on a whole Billy Joel tangent there, just because.
My inability to read women is is in there, and then just a celebration of local smoke. And then the major plot point is a guy is trying to host a big comedy showcase.
Yes.
Going to be a 1,500 seat arena. As the movie progresses, it's down to a little comedy club. And then what we just filmed with you today is the basement scene, the culmination.
Yes.
And the movie's called Local Legends, and so it's just a celebration of guys like me who are just totally on a local basis persevering within the entertainment world in the face of utter rejection.
Sure. It's a great idea, though. It's a great idea, and it's interesting how like the while you obviously have a community of people, like actual physical real people, there's also those communities online, like there is local legends like online as well.
Yeah, the podcasting community for sure.
Yeah, that kind of thing, which is stuff that I've seen, which is cool. So I'm really looking forward to it. And you've got just chat briefly about the guy we saw perform today. He was great. Or do you want to keep him private?
Oh no, his name is Matt D, and he's a national legend. How about that?
Legend.
He's not a local legend. He's the real deal. And then luckily he was starting out in comedy right around the time I was starting out. We did a bunch of shows together. We did a thing called the All-Star Super Show in some little bar in Boston.
That's great, the All-Star Super Show from a little bar in Boston.
Tiny bar, and pretty much, and this is what the real comedy world is, in my level, is you're performing for other comedians, you know?
Right.
You're performing, there's 8 people in the audience, 7 of them are also going to be performing later.
Sure.
Yeah, and so I got to know him through there, and he's really good, as you could tell from just
It was
that
all
little
great.
set he did.
Great.
He's a pro.
Well, fantastic. Well, we can't wait till it comes out. What's your sort of time scale for when it's going to be available on YouTube or to get a DVD of?
I'm hoping the fall of 2013, but who knows? Until it's done, I make no promises. But I've taken a week off of work and just been churning it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Well, we hope you have much success with the film. And,
all right. I love the diner.
Hope it all goes well. Thanks very much.
Sunshine's blossom and food tastes good. I'm dancing crazy, I'm chopping wood. My old man, he's suffering from the gout. He always has something to go on and on about. You just sit there feeling happy. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here just feeling crappy. Cash in your savings bonds. Cash in your savings bonds. Pronto. Pronto. There are 99 different ways to say very good, and I think they're all quite lame. I believe in punctuation and pouring cooking oil down my drain. Water flows from the clouds and on up into the mountains. There's this woman I know who likes to swim naked in Roman fountains. I like satisfaction and the beyond. Look at little Merlin with his magic wand. There's this terrible sound that goes around and around. I'm here today and I'm all unwound. Cash in your savings bonds. Cash in your savings bonds. Pronto. Sally shouldn't ski and she's feeling sorrow, 'cause she knows I'm here today and I'm gone tomorrow. Please just get out of bed. We can chew the pencil and then spit out the lead. Don't tell me that it's really graphite, 'cause we can do our laundry and then I'll make you feel uptight. You get fevers and I feel in the blanks for you, bewitched or bewildered at 2:15. Cash in your savings bonds. Cash in your savings bonds. Pronto. Cash in your savings bonds. Cash in your savings bonds. Pronto.
And you just heard Matt Farley singing there with his band Moe's Haven, Cash in Your Saving Bonds Pronto. And you know what? That's bloody good advice. Okay, so coming up on the show, I take my good old friend Jon Wallace down to an actual diner and we discuss all sorts of wonderful things. One of the things we discuss is a recent statement that Spielberg made that was then quickly reported around the internet that apparently Hollywood is imploding. Hollywood is just dying on its arse, apparently, and it's all going to go away. I think he means the studio type thing. But yes, we discussed that on the show. So I decided to ask Facebook what it thought. And we got some replies. So, coming up now, it's feedback time. Commenting on the internet, they're commenting all over the internet, and not all over my face. First up, it's Chris Armstrong, or Snoog, as I know him, from Wafu FM and now Wafu AM. You can also hear him this week on the Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid Commentaries podcast. All of these shows can be found on iTunes right now. Anyway, he writes, to me it's been slowly imploding for years. I'm not sure what the future holds, but like a lot of people, I'm hoping that the remake, reboot, reimagining trend will die a sudden death soon. But that has been my hope for the last 10 years. My biggest fear is that in 10 years things will be so bad we'll be looking back on today with fondness as Brett Ratner remakes The Expendables, starring Shia LaBeouf as Barney Ross and Piers Morgan as Church. I apologize if that last sentence made you throw up in your mouth. It did, but it was slightly pleasurable and warming. Anyway, Robert Longfordshire, yes, him from Baltimore. What up, me Baltimore peeps? He writes, yes it is. The reason being that about 2008 the recession hit Hollywood hard, and the rampant piracy these days has made it impossible to get solid financial numbers for their losses and gains. Do not be fooled by the numbers you hear, as there is a massive overhead at the studios, and plus they have to pay back the investors and the banks. The reason it seems to have stalled is because the decision people are petrified to make an original non-blockbuster movie that could cost their company $1 billion. The way it can survive is 1. Lower everybody's wages on the top of the production, especially any star making $25 million. That's ridiculous. 2. The studios start using the Chaos Pulse technology that makes it impossible to copy or rip movies from DVDs and Blu-rays. This is from a guy that worked in Hollywood for 10 years. Well, Robert, no, I agree certainly on the wages side of it, definitely. I think they could be greatly reduced. I don't know, because I've not been in the industry, but I feel like when movies are making, $500 million or in some cases $1 billion, that any kind of $5 on a subway train that someone's getting for a shaky cam pirate copy version of, whatever's out in the cinema at the moment is merely a drop in the ocean. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, I don't know. So the piracy thing, I don't know. It's difficult when you see the grosses of some of these movies for anyone to feel bad about piracy. But, they are only seemingly making these huge, massive movies that spend millions of dollars on advertising, double their budget on advertising and promotion and stuff like that. And I don't know, that just seems like an odd business model to me. Wouldn't it be better to make a bunch of 30 to 50 mil movies with, like you say, people taking vast pay cuts, so that, if they make 80 or 90 mil on each one, then, it's worth it. I mean, I don't know how it stacks up, whether it's better to, make one enormous movie and then make a chunk of change, or hope to make a chunk of change back. It seems like a bigger gamble to me. I don't know, because it only takes something like a Green Lantern or whatever, and you're out millions, rather than if you had made a film for 25 mil in the back of a cupboard, you wouldn't be out as much. So, on one hand, they seem to be very scared about, like you say, making any original content, and on the other hand, they seem to be doing this huge gamble every time they roll out these $300 million pictures. So, I don't know. Definitely nobody needs to be making $25 million a movie when, some people in this country can't afford to eat or feed their children or things like that. So, yeah, I definitely agree there. As for the whole piracy thing, I don't know. I would have to look much closer at the numbers. So I will probably, at this time, Robert, bow to your superior and excellent knowledge. Thanks ever so much for writing in. Chris Armstrong then wrote back to say, so that was the question, and here I am just moaning about remakes and Brett Ratner again. But yeah, what those guys said too. Chris Jones, our good friend Jonesy from England. What up, the Joneses? He writes a long old email, so I'll take a big old deep breath, and here we go. I agree with Robert. Basically, actors are being paid way too much and getting contractual fees that are just ridiculous. As much as I like RDJ as Iron Man, is he really worth a $50 million payday? Shit rolls downhill, and that means people getting stiffed going to the cinema and with the inflated prices of a cinema ticket. This in turn has made it harder and harder for people to go. End of the day, in the UK, as it stands, if I took Debbie, my daughter, and myself to the cinema without buying snacks, I'd be paying the better part of £25 plus for 3 tickets. That's just wrong any way you look at it. I argue that it also encourages piracy on a global scale. I think another issue is the sheer amount of studios that have merged to the point that you really have very little in the way of people being able to fully back and make original films that rarely get a look in with most, not all, multiplex cinemas. It's simply more profitable to show franchise films linked to several different screens than sacrifice one of them to show a film that isn't guaranteed bums on seats. The cinema as we know it is also suffering as a result of greed within Hollywood and the advent of the type of deals that are being set up with actor contracts and technology. Now, as most cinemas turn to digital projection, there isn't really any need for projectionists. I say this as an ex-projectionist. The films are digitally downloaded to the projectors and the showing times are then set by the studios. Then a code is delivered which has to be inputted or the film won't start. The horrible circle in all this is that once you get a couple of clever hackers working on it, they will be able to eventually break these systems and offer perfect quality copies on the net, which in turn causes more piracy. I think there is a lot that needs to change within the film industry and the way things will eventually go. I can see the cinematical equivalent of an economic collapse hit the film industry, one that started from the heavy hitters at the top. Think about it. They already practically run the multiplex cinemas with tentpole films. They set the standard for distribution rental costs, which is then set by the contractual agreements put in and made to get big-name actors to star in the films. The smaller studios then suffer as a result, less ability to distribute and get screen time for the films they make, unless it gets incredible word of mouth and awards, and then the major issue of financing anything that can come near the money being used to make the films. Let's be sensible here. No film should cost over $100 million. It just shouldn't. Effects are expensive, sure, same with advertising, but the crew don't get paid the great sums of cash you'd hope they would. Instead, you look at the cost of the actors and the bigger names up the production. For example, take Dark Knight. Just look at the two of the main actors, Bale and Ledger. I can guarantee those two people alone would have cost between 15 to 20 million from the budget. I mean, to be honest, Jonesy, I think the Dark Knight films, although obviously they were expensively made, I don't know that Bale takes a lot of money from stuff like that. I would be more sort of annoyed at people like Marky Mark and Tom Cruise and things like that who kind of show up in every single movie and are taking millions and millions of dollars for each film. I'm not sure that Bale and Ledger were being paid that much, but I completely and utterly agree and take your point. He goes on to say, thing is, and not to play devil's advocate here, but if you were one of the reasons a film made up to $1 billion, you'd want a bit of the action from that. Agreed. Back-end deals with actors, no problem, but paid up front and taking big chunks of the budget away to give to them, I don't understand it. There also seems like from sort of insider Hollywood stories I've heard about money they get every day when they're on set and some of the waste of various productions. And it seems like, really, if they did it properly, they could cut quite a lot out of the budget up front and then not spend as much marketing it. I don't know why in this day and age of the internet that they're doubling the budget to market it. I really, really do not understand that at all. Anyway, he finishes up by saying, ultimately, Hollywood is a cinematic industrial machine that is there to churn out the kinds of films that dominate box office returns. Unfortunately, the cost is that the individual thought process of creativity and modest production is getting crushed more and more by a monster that can't continue to self-sustain its own ego. Eventually, something will have to break under its weight. I think we're all of sort of that consensus. But thanks for writing in, Jonesy. Paul Bianco writes, the price of theatre tickets going up and the blatant use of 3D for movies that just don't require it. For a family of 4, we are looking at nearly £50 to see a movie. Stuff that. Cheaper to download, even though I don't, but we know that it is rampant throughout the internet. Plus, TV shows are far better now than what they used to be. Also, movies are released on DVD just 17 weeks after they've finished their run. Staying in is the new going out. It's bloody cheaper for a start. Plus, if you're staying in, Paul, you can listen to podcasts. Am I right? Am I right? I'm right. Free podcast. There you go. Free entertainment. Paul, I completely agree. It is all getting a bit expensive. Plus, I don't know about everyone else, but when I go into a theatre, I get really discouraged by the fact that I just see rows and rows and rows of cell phones or mobile phones, and then during the film, people just won't shut the hell up. I think staying in will definitely, for me, become the new going out. Finally, Tyler Baker, good old Tyler Baker, he writes, Hollywood has really become a brain that can't think for itself. To its credit, it used to be a place of gambling. By that I mean they weren't scared to take chances on violent or sexual films, content that would be controversial or way raunchy. Now, because one bad parent whose kids saw a lousy rated R film wants to make a name for themselves and blame Hollywood for making films with violent sexuality and originality, are cut off to make things safe only for the under 17 audience. Screw adults. There are so many legendary films that had an R rating that made tons of money, but Hollywood is steadily becoming an overly conservative powerhouse run by an unappealing woman who cries, "Will someone think of the children?" It relies too much on copying one successful film years after its release, like Avatar making big bucks because of the 3D gimmick, so every film must have 3D. I'm all for superhero films, but not letting that genre breathe some, the public will strangle it. They can't possibly be considering ticket prices because they just keep going up. They hire just any vanilla actor, Marky Mark, Shia LaSuck, because they're horrible actors and were attached to Transformers or some other turd that made big bucks, so therefore they must be worth something, as if the public came to see them. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I kind of agree with that as well. I mean, this idea of the actor somehow being the main motivation that people go and see a film, it can be. If it's funny enough, it's probably the smaller films in which I care about the actors. Like if I'm going to go see a drama or a comedy or a horror, something like that, then the actors might be important, or the director or some of the talent involved. But if I'm going to go see Transformers, which I'm not, but let's just say I'm going to go and see Transformers, I'm going to go see it because of the Transformers. You know, really, you could stick a cardboard face on the end of a broom handle and wave it in front of the camera. As long as they're a big robots hitting each other, that's what everyone goes to see. So, you know, I don't really buy this whole, like, oh, these actors must be great because the movie made $300 million. You know, Superman is going to make a huge amount of money. It doesn't matter. It's Superman. Batman, the same. These movies are going to make huge, huge amounts of money. It's not really to do with the actor attached to them. So this idea that they should then be in every movie, I agree, Tyler, makes little to no sense. But that's it for our feedback this week. Thanks ever so much. We're getting some really great feedback lately and people answering the questions on the Facebook page and the Twitter and stuff like that. Please do keep it up because I think it really does add something to the episode. And next week and the week after, you know, I'll put up questions and we'll try and integrate, like we did with the Superman episode, the feedback into the actual conversation. However, this week's conversation was pre-recorded and it was recorded in an actual diner. It's the first time that we've done this. It's an idea that I've been kicking about with, and I think it came out rather well. But obviously, you'll be the ultimate judge. So please take a listen as we actually go to the after movie diner. I'm not going to do an intro. What are we talking about?
Well, we may as well do an introduction. We're in the green. Okay. We're in the Green Cafe. This is a special.
No, we're in the after movie diner. That's what we should say.
Right. Yes, we are. Yeah.
So here we are.
Forget the Green Cafe.
Yeah. So here we are. My dear friend and compatriot on many a diner journey has flown to New York City, and here we are sat in the actual after movie diner, and we're going to be talking around the houses about movies and things for the next however long.
Movies and things. You may be interested to know what's on the menu today. I'm having lobster, and our host is eating only gravy.
Only gravy. I exist on a mainly gravy diet.
Yeah, and it looks good.
Damn fine gravy. It's chunky and chewy.
But we were going to talk a little bit about. You were telling me that Steven Spielberg was saying, just to kick us off, you were saying that Steven Spielberg was saying that Hollywood is on its way to implosion.
Oh yeah, well the studios specifically are on their way to implosion. In fact, he was saying that like the only way he could get Lincoln made outside of it just being an HBO movie was that he had to own his own studio.
Yeah,
Which he does with DreamWorks.
Right.
With
But does he still own DreamWorks?
Yeah.
I thought they. Oh, okay, fair enough. I thought it had broken up DreamWorks, but fair enough. It's still going. That's fine. But yeah, and obviously Soderbergh has. Recently, I was just reading on my way down to the Arse movie diner on the subway. I was just reading an interview with Steven Soderbergh, who was saying, I am sick and tired of being told by executives, people whose job is not to make the film, how I should be making the film, and I think these people should be concentrating more on doing their job better. Than trying to interfere in my work, and there's too much interference. And what was interesting is he said, because you read that sentence and you immediately think, right, well, but that's just how you start off, and then you become big and you forget about it. But he was saying, no. Now, anyone, whoever you are, no matter how big you are, there's a huge amount of interference in your project based on a fear of risk, a total fear of risk, which. A lot of people are. I think there is a certain school of thought in movie criticism which defends the sort of remake industry as, the entire history of film is based on remake, etc., etc., etc. But I think what's interesting about it, and you were saying the same, I think what's interesting about it is it gives the opportunity. If Hollywood did explode, it would give the opportunity for. In fact, it should actually end in an explosion, in an enormous explosion caused by all the old, Schwarzenegger, Stallone. They could stand on top of the Hollywood signs and just nuke the entire town.
Right.
And after that, perhaps people would. It would encourage people to come and see, to see original movies, whether it's not just,
Maybe that could be the plot of Expendables 3.
Exactly, yeah.
They go into the studios and go mano a mano with guys in suits and old flabby, jowly white guys.
Yeah. But it would, perhaps that would get, American viewing public out there watching, original movies, and not just, for instance, bloody remakes of The Thing, remakes of The A-Team, all this nonsense, but actually going to see, foreign movies, things with subtitles. Obviously that's a big ask, but it might be a step in the right direction.
Although,
and then they would have to, and then American cinema would have to become more genuinely creative. And try and come up with something new, because everything is. I know we've had the conversation a million times, but I don't disagree with cinema is imitation to a huge extent.
Right.
But it's always about taking inspiration from something and trying to bring your own thing to it and create something new through that inspiration. Not this process of stamping a very average actiony script, often, let's face it, with a sort of brand A-Team, brand thing, brand whatever it is,
Brand Superman.
Brand Superman, yeah. Superman looks poor, it looks poor, and I'm annoyed about that because I really like the guy who's playing General Zod. He has the eyes of a madman.
Yeah.
He's brilliant. I even saw him, and he was in My Son, What Have You Done? What Have You Done? The Herzog.
The Herzog ridiculous one that comes after Bad Lieutenant.
Yeah, but it's also it was written by or produced by whatever Lynch, and it's awful. It's really awful. But he is such a weird screen presence.
Well, he's in Boardwalk Empire. He's like the guy who's hunting down Buscemi all the time.
Yeah. Well, I read today that he may be the new Christopher Walken, and I think that's quite a good call, actually. I don't think that, a lot of the reviewers have said, like, the fact that, Nolan's involved as producer, that means it's going to be a good movie. I really disagree. You see, you're not a massive Batman movies fan. I love that Batman trilogy, but...
I don't like The Dark Knight Rises.
Fine, but I love that trilogy. I have no problem with the whole trilogy. I love it, and I think it's a great thing. But what no one bears in mind is that the original Batman movies, the bloody what's his name,
Tim Burton
ones. They was like high camp, at the time people thought like, oh, it wasn't as, isn't he brilliant to have done such a dark masterpiece? But it wasn't at all. It was still.
There's a whole sequence where Jack Nicholson comes in with a boombox and dances to Prince for 15
which I love.
That. It's amazing, but it's not. What it's not is like deep dark.
No, so it made sense to go. Right, we'll do. If we're going to do a different Batman thing, let's go completely dark.
Mm-hmm.
Superman is. I think it's a different kettle of fish. First of all, it's very old.
They've given him a beard. It's so funny.
I know, yeah, he's just bloody beard. Beard of despair. The standard Hollywood beard of despair.
I just thought of you when I saw the trailer and I saw the Superman had a beard. I was like, that's Jon's rule of facial hair denoting despair.
Mental anguish. And at some point, Superman will have a shave. I mean, it's that ridiculous, and that would show that he's now on top of things and he knows what he's doing. But
I
don't think
trims
it's
it down to a
necessary.
little Burt Reynolds mustache.
Yeah, first of all, I can barely remember. I probably represent far better than you because you're a well-watched film individual.
I'm a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, but I've seen. I saw those movies when I was a kid, the original Christopher Reeve Superman movies when I was a kid, and they are very far away in my consciousness. They're a long way away. There is no need to reinvent them. They're a long, long way away. You don't need to go, super dark, super serious with them. It has, and you can tell from that trailer that the thing has absolutely no sense of humour. Right. And what I liked about the original movies is that they had, they were fun movies. They could afford to have some fun,
like chewing up the scenery.
And I don't think sort of tagging Nolan on and saying like, oh, it's another gritty grit fest is the right way to go. I think he should have found someone who had his own vision for it, not gone, oh, we've got Zack Snyder, who obviously doesn't really have a vision for it, so we'll bring. I don't really hate Snyder, but he's a bit of a, he's one of those sort of advert directors, isn't he? It looks like everything looks like an advert, which I've got no problem with for, like, your average B movie actiony kind of a thing. But if you're going to make Superman, if you are going to bother to make that step, get someone bloody interesting into it. Get bloody Terry Gilliam into it. I know everyone always says this sort of thing, but get him into it. I mean,
imagine a Gilliam Superman.
I'd love to see
that. Would be bonkers.
I'd love to see that. In a weird twist of fate, considering how much I hate Tim Burton, I would have been fascinated to see the Tim Burton Nick Cage one.
We were saying exactly this last night on the Superman.
I would be fascinated to see it,
But no, the implosion of Hollywood. I mean, there's two ways. Like, Hollywood did what was to be expected, I suppose. The moment the internet came out, the moment the internet became like the day-to-day thing that it is now, not like when it came out, but when it became like de rigueur, there was all this worry that what it would do is it would be giving away all this massive amount of content for free, and that independent filmmakers will be like utilizing it to the hilt and producing all this amazing stuff. The fact of the matter is, that hasn't happened. Most independent film directors, although they might put stuff out on YouTube or they might run a Kickstarter campaign or whatever, in their head, if they still want to be seen up on the big screen, like most indie directors want to be Peter Jackson or want to be Spielberg or want to be Raimi or want to be whoever, or Cronenberg even, or whatever. They want human beings are still stuck in that old format way of thinking when it comes to films, not with anything else. With TV shows you can do like, oh, here's a 10-minute version of a TV show you knew before but now it's online or whatever. You can do all that stuff.
Arrested Development, Netflix,
The House of Cards, all the rest of it. Netflix is bringing...
That's still only very recent, actually.
Right. Netflix and certain cable channels are becoming the drive-ins of our generation. You've got Netflix, you've got the Sci-Fi Channel, you've got Hulu, you've got things like that. They're becoming like the drive-through of our generation, the drive-in rather of our generation, and the B-movie kind of houses of our generation. And then the cinemas are filled with these bloated 3D, $300 million pictures, all of them based on either established franchises or by an established company such as like Marvel or whoever. And none of them, and you can see this in the acting and the casting that we've talked about before, none of them are adventurous. It's Marky Mark, it's Tom Cruise, it's Morgan Freeman, it's like all these people who are literally just being pumped out like, when they say like a cookie cutter factory type thing, like that. Like, okay, now we're going to stick. Who haven't we put together? Well, Denzel's never been in a movie with Mark and Mark. Right, well, let's do that then. You know what I mean? And you only have to see it with the fact that this year we're going to have 2 end-of-the-world comedies and we've got 2 Invasion of the White House movies, which, is too much similarity for anyone's business, really. Yeah. And we've got a Star Trek movie that dates back to Wrath of Khan, and we've got a Superman movie that dates back to Superman 1 and 2. Like, none of them are doing anything where you're like, oh well, if you're 30 years old, you've seen this stuff.
Yeah. The Star Trek thing was a particular example of I mean, I don't know whether that... I mean, it felt... One of the things that was worst about that is, for me, is that, I mean, you didn't like either of the movies, but I liked the first movie, and one of the reasons I liked the first movie was that they managed to actually do that, I mean, it's a terrible word, but that reset thing. And so, right, now we don't have to pay any attention to anything, we can come up with our own aliens, our own species, our own adventures. Brilliant.
And I gave it that credit.
And the first thing that they do is go back and chop up and butcher an old movie. Now, I'd say... that is one example out of a million. But I mean, I would really like Hollywood to carry on and to just rediscover a bit of, just a bit, just a little bit of creativity. Yeah, a little bit of willing to take a risk here and there. And there's that very good Kermode argument, which is that these huge, relentless blockbusters, they always make money, even when they're disastrous and awful. They always make money. So why not take risks? If you know that they're going to make money when you put that much marketing behind them, take loads of risks because they make money. As long as they've got the star and all that marketing power behind them, you know they're going to make the return. So why not do it? I think that's a very good argument. And it backs up what Soderbergh was saying, is that there is this sort of increase. The unfortunate effect of the internet has been it's actually had the opposite effect that a lot of people thought it would have, which is instead of making Hollywood sort of take more risks and try and do things a bit differently, try and shake it up, etc. It's actually, if anything, it's retrenched a little bit and become definitely even more scared of taking some risks.
Well, this is what I was saying yesterday.
They still do get good movies out there. They do. I mean, I thought Argo was a good, original little script, worthy little...
Well, that's why it's a bit annoying that Soderbergh said what he said, because, we're living in a bit of a strange days type world in the sense that everything is being tried at the moment. Like that speech he gives, Tom Sizemore gives in Strange Days. In the sense that underneath all these big Hollywood blockbusters that we tend to think of as Hollywood is this kind of burgeoning new wave movie geek type 70s filmmaking, which is Soderbergh, Affleck, Clooney, Neil Blomkamp, who's doing the sci-fi stuff with Damon and people like that. There is this new wave, and for someone like Soderbergh, I understand how frustrating it is. And look, Soderbergh's been doing it for 25 years or whatever, but and he was always very good at doing one for them and one for him. And the ones for him were always really weird and esoteric and almost Cronenberg-esque in some regards. But, it's sad that he's getting out of it because I always saw him, and it's sad that Fincher became more Hollywood, because I would love to see Fincher and Soderbergh and Clooney and these people just, okay, you make your $300 million movies, we'll make our $30 million movies, and let's just in fact, it's really interesting to see, and we'll see maybe this will be a turning point, but Downey Jr. has said, while he's still in negotiations with Marvel about the whole will I ever reprise Iron Man thing again, which he will, because Joss Whedon's already said, well, I'm not making Avengers 2 unless he's in it, and Joss Whedon is basically Marvel for the next 5 years, so he will be, but Downey Jr. has said, look, after 8 years of doing Sherlocks and Iron Mans, I'm going to do a small indie pick again. I'm going to do a movie where I actually have to act it. He said that. And he said that he wants to do more of that. And in fact, it's really interesting, he might be moving to... Because he's already got his producing partner with his wife. Yeah. They might start producing more of the kind of movies we're talking about. I think so there's glimmers of hope. So, I don't believe this big implosion bullshit.
I mean, I think it's interesting that someone like Spielberg says that, though, and I think that might be, he knows something we don't in terms of the way that the business works. The fundamentals of the business are not working out anymore. That's interesting that someone like him says that, And you're right. There are always glimmers of hope. There's a lot of people still making good movies out there. I guess what is, I don't know. Maybe it's always happened before. I don't know, but. Increasingly you see movies where you kind of go, especially the sort of sequel movies where you go, that could have been any movie. Like I saw on the plane on the way over here the new Die Hard movie, and it was a really odd experience because the further it went in, the longer it went on, I was going, when is he going to say or do something John McClane did?
Right.
When is that going to happen? Because he's not said anything so far. And all that happened was he made a couple of very strange, very high-pitched, shrill comments, and then said "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker" sort of towards the end, and that was it.
Yeah.
And it was the same as Star Trek as well. The first Star Trek I saw, I thought the guy who played Kirk absolutely nailed it, and the rest of them did sort of slightly sketchy caricatures, which to a certain extent the originals were anyway, but that perhaps they can improve on them. But I thought the second one, they actually went backwards, and again, it could have been any movie.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what something like the A-Team was like, but this aspect of, like, it feels like a load of this committee thing grinds it up into this soup of action, and they forget all the stuff that's brilliant. I mean, that's why I thought Iron Man 3 was actually a really good sequel job.
Right.
It's not a great film by any means, but it's a good sequel job because Shane Black got some stuff in there where you were like, oh, there's a bit of Downey Jr.
Right.
like skill and attitude.
But that's why Downey Jr.
totally
has been so
well.
savvy. He kept Jon Favreau in there, so like Jon Favreau is still producing. He's got his wife producing on both Sherlock movies and now producing the Iron Man movies. So, and of the entire Marvel Universe, he's the highest paid, the most successful, and everything else. So what he does is he shows up on set and he's a bit like, and bless him for this because it's resulted in better movies. But since Iron Man 2, I think he took those criticisms very much to heart about Iron Man 2, and which were the studio rushed it out. Favreau didn't get to have his auteur kind of stamp on it. It was very much a hodgepodge.
Yeah, it was exactly what we're talking about.
Right.
It's this soup of action.
Right. So now everything he does is very carefully like it's a Downey Jr. movie. Like Shane Black and what Downey Jr. did was he was like, Shane, old pal, write us a Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but let's do it and make it huge this time. Because I think when he did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, it's one of his favourite films that he's ever done. But it bombed. Like, no one saw that movie, apart from us in England, but, like, in America, no one saw that movie. And I think what he wanted to do was, like, pay it forward. And, it's like he'll always stand by Mel Gibson, because when he could not get insured, Downey Jr. couldn't be insured on any movie. Gibson paid for the insurance himself to be in The Singing Detective. Gibson went out of his way to get Downey back in front of a camera.
Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Well, they started Air America together back in, like,
yeah.
And they were always friends.
I've got a weird soft spot for Air America.
Right. And then Gibbo went all crazy, and Downey Jr. went to prison. But Gibbo still was making these movies where, like, he was making... Because...
I quite like later Gibson movies. I like conspiracy theory.
No, but I'm not talking about those movies. I'm talking about Passion of the Christ, Apocalypto, those movies. They were all self-funded. The billions of dollars that Jesus Christ Superstar took, or whatever it was called, Jesus Christ Lust for Glory, whatever that took, all that money was his. So when he made a smaller picture, and he didn't direct it, but he was in it and he produced it with his Icon company, when he made The Singing Detective, he was able to pay for Downey Jr. to, like, be in that movie.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, good on him, yeah. I mean, he's done some good things among the madness, it has to be said,
Not lately. The Beaver and the fucking Get the Gringo was pretty miserable.
Oh, I didn't see... Oh, Get the Gringo... Yeah, I know. Do you know what? I did see a trailer for that, yeah.
I thought it was going to be an action movie, and it turns out it's just him stuck in a Mexican prison for 2 hours.
Did you see it?
I saw, like, the first hour. I couldn't make it through.
Oh, really? Blimey, right.
Because I kept watching and I kept going, where's this going? Like, I just couldn't... It just wasn't doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, something like Payback, I really liked.
I like Payback, I like conspiracy theories. Even something like Ransom or whatever it was, like, had, like, barreled along and it was a bit of an action-y, escapade. It was good. It was good shit.
Well, there's rumours he's going to be in Expendables 3, so...
Really? Well, that's where he'd fit. Yeah, he'd fit in there, definitely, no doubt. Yeah.
Well, then they can have their cake and eat it too. They can get Gibson in the movie, but people will want to see him get beaten up. So you just make him the villain.
Yeah.
But that sounds like it's going to be a very bloated movie. You can have all the original Expendables, plus Snipes, Cage, Gibson, and possibly Jackie Chan.
Cage is in it. Cage's in it, bloody hell.
Cage is in it, and apparently Steven Seagal's going to be in it.
Yeah, Seagal, who's been dancing
In
the
Russia,
polka
have you
in
seen the
Chechnya,
Chechen dance?
which is just
That's
unbelievable.
amazing.
Chechnya is now drawing the world's weirdest motley crew of, of insane movie D-listers over there. Depardieu has been over there, praising, the bloody non-tax regime. I mean, the guy is so... But I find that so frustrating because I really like the fact that... Did you hear about him on the plane, Depardieu?
Yeah, urinating down the aisle.
I need to pee. Just pissing everywhere because they wouldn't let him pee. I love him for that because, I hate the way they do all that. They make you feel like such a prisoner on the plane. But saying, they tax me 70%, so I moved to Russia because they tax it. It's a better country because they tax me less money. He's really made a fool out of himself with that. Liz Hurley has been knocking around with the Chechen bloke, posing, stroking one of his mad pet tigers. Yeah. And then Seagal goes over there and dances the polka because they all do.
Well, Seagal was in Moscow originally, and then he went down to Chechnya after Moscow because Seagal's like best pals with Putin.
Absolutely crazy.
Do you know what's so funny is Putin wants Seagal to spearhead his fitness regime because Putin is all about bringing back like the 1950s communist regime of like having little boys in white shorts, knees up, basically like the Nazi youth or whatever, only on the communist side. And he wants to, and he looked around the world and he went, shall I get one of our bright athletes or one of our like gymnasts? No, I'll get Steven Seagal, a 65-year-old weave-wearing, overweight. Insane monster.
He looks like a head on a bollard, doesn't he? That's what he looks like. He's just a ridiculous critic.
He is.
I still wander around myself. I was going to say, I still wander around and titter to myself about Under Siege him say, I'm just a cook.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but that cracked me up from the first moment I saw it. And it still makes me giggle to think about it.
Yeah.
Because it's like the least accomplished delivery of a line that's ever been given.
Well, I've been watching...
that was the line they selected as like, this sells the trailer.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching On Deadly Ground. And that's his environmental movie that he directed.
Oh, with Michael Caine in it?
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, that's a weird film. But in it, it's so funny. In it, he hangs out with the Inuits. Because there's this running gag about, like, nobody knows what ethnicity Seagal actually is. Because in his early movies, he plays it like a Guido Italian. Lately he's been talking about Russia, saying, oh yes, of course I've been Russian for my whole life. My mum was Russian, my grandma was Russian, her mum was Russian, which, like, no evidence to that either, right? He claims to be like Native American quite a lot. And in this movie, he's hanging out with the...
Well, he's supposed to be Buddha, isn't he?
Well, no, he's also meant to be like Tibetan god, like a fifth in line
he's
to
a busy
the...
lad.
Right. But when he's in Louisiana, he pretends like he's Cajun, right? Which is hilarious. So it's this whole
he's
thing
sort
with
of
Steven
all
Seagal.
things to all men.
He's all things to all men.
At the same time, it's been
nothing to anybody, right? As well as just being this 6'5" lunatic bestriding the nation. But on Deadly Ground, he goes and hangs out with the Inuits, right? The tourists are very short people, yet here he is, like, hanging out with 6'4". And they're treating him like he is the native spirit of the bear. And I kid you not, there's a dream sequence in which Seagal runs through a wood, fights a bear, and stabs the bear in the back of the neck, and then falls off into a waterfall. It's the most hilarious thing
that sounds
I've
almost
ever
as good.
seen.
I don't think that can be as good as Jack Nicholson in Wolf, which is still the most... that's one of those
Nothing's
things.
as ridiculous.
You know how we've talked about a few times about, like, the director sitting in the editing suite, rewatching the footage. Did they not seriously have a conversation of, like, we cannot use that?
Right, him pouncing.
It's hilarious.
Him pouncing.
It's not supposed to be hilarious, and it's completely hilarious.
I don't know, man. Sometimes ego fuels these things.
I suppose it does, yeah.
It certainly fuels On Deadly Ground, I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
There's actually a bit where, at the beginning, an oil rig is blowing up, and Seagal shows up as Forrest Taft, the man who's like, can cure any problem. And he actually walks in, and he actually got the extras, because he directed the movie as well, to say, oh yes, thank goodness he's here. It's Forrest, thank goodness he's here. He'll save us. Like, the extras actually say this as, like, mad Seagal strides, wearing, like, this big Native American tasseled suede jacket, like, just striding towards a fire. And his solution to the fire? Blow it up. Because that puts fires out. If you blow up a fire, it puts the fire out. That's
excellent.
Fact.
Sensible policies for a happier Inuit nation.
It's an incredible movie. I'd love to, if I interviewed Michael Caine, I would love to ask him about On Deadly Ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he'd just give another wry line about, you know, that paid for some shoes.
Garage, yeah. He has weird hair dye that changes all the way through as well, because to try and make him look more menacing instead of the mad curly
They even
hair.
dye his eyebrows as well.
They dye everything. He looks really weird. It's so odd to see his, like, big face with, like, shaved, tight cropped hair, gelled down, dyed haphazardly, like, dark brown and black in kind of a weird, when the light catches it, you can see the patches type way. These big, thick eyebrows, and then he's walking around with this sometimes English, sometimes American, can't really be asked type accent.
Yeah. Which appears in a number of films.
Yeah. And then you've got McGinley, who is the guy from Scrubs and who's in Office Space. You know the two Bobs in Office Space? You know the guy with the glasses?
Yeah.
Who's like, well, you've been missing a lot of work lately. And then the other guy goes, I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Bob. And then the guy with the glasses, he's in there. And he normally plays, like, affable lunatics. And in this, he gives the most outrageous, over-the-top, bad guy henchman performance you've ever seen. And in order to make him look even remotely menacing, they've given him, like, a Michelin Man-style jacket that's, like, out here. So he's, like, walking around, like, trying to be menacing.
So while we're speaking of Caine,
Yes. What is the topic of this week's episode?
the topic of this week's episode, which has taken about an hour to get around to,
That's fine. It's all gold. It's all gold.
is Without a Clue.
When was the last time you saw a really funny murder? A side-splitting kidnapping.
Courage, mister!
A film that knocks your socks off. Academy Award winner Michael Caine's Sherlock Holmes. He's a bore, a lover, a nincompoop.
Have you no respect for people's privacy?
Worst of all, he's an actor.
Once more, onto the breach, dear friends. Holmes, no! I created the character of Sherlock Holmes and hired you merely to play the part.
Academy Award winner Ben Kingsley is Dr. Watson, his creator and his boss.
Am I to understand that you are giving me notice?
He's a keen observer, a sometimes acrobat, and a brilliant scientist.
Something wrong?
You bet. When the Bank of England's plates go missing, the fate of the empire falls upon, you guessed it.
I accept this case.
The trouble is, they're without a clue as to who done it,
You're disappointed, aren't you?
what done it, where done it, or why done it. If they don't kill themselves, or each other,
Confound you!
evil Professor Moriarty will surely kill them both. If you have a taste for gripping drama and good laughs,
Laughs? You said it was a gripping drama.
if you stand for law and order,
I am Inspector Lestrade.
make a date to see Michael Caine
I would rather waltz into the fires of heaven.
and Ben Kingsley
I can see coming here was a mistake.
in the funniest new comedy since Knickers made keyholes popular, Without a Clue. And, oh yes, bring the children.
Without a clue. Yes.
Which is a movie which I believe we both discovered through my dad's mysterious VHS collection. We used to go up to my dad's.
I actually saw it in the cinema before that.
Really? Oh, did you?
I think
Okay.
you may have discovered it on VHS, and I then subsequently rediscovered it on VHS, but I saw it in the cinema with my sister. It came out the same year as Cocoon the Return, and this will tell you something about the draw that the Gutenberg was at the time. Me and my older sister, who's about 6-7 years older than me, were going to the cinema, and I was a big Sherlock Holmes fan, always had been growing up, and I saw that there was, because like the picture.
Yeah, because you went to see Jeremy Brett theatre.
I went to see the Jeremy Brett theatre production of where like it turns out that like Mycroft is also Holmes and there's this other stuff. Anyway, I could see from the poster that it was a Holmes story, because it was Kane and Kingsley looking like Watson and Holmes. So I was nagging my sister, like, I want to go to that, I want to go to that, I want to go to that. And she wanted to go to Cocoon the Return. More than anything, she wanted to go to Cocoon the Return. Which just tells you how much Gutenberg had his hands on the purse strings of Hollywood. And she acquiesced.
Every Berg has his day.
Yeah, every Berg has his day. And she acquiesced, and we went to see Without a Clue. And actually, she came out having really loved it. But yeah, I saw that on the big screen.
Yeah, so I saw it with my dad. Had this mysterious, growing and ebbing VHS collection under his telly, because he used to get loads of free promotional items, and he used to collect toys. He used to be given all these VHS that he never used to watch. Me and Jim, my brother, used to go up to his flat and ferret around in his collection and steal various VHS.
Right.
So we came back with that. Didn't watch it for ages, because all it had was all of these promotional videos didn't have any covers or anything. They just had a little Virgin tag on them. I don't know why it was Virgin. A little Virgin tag on them, Without a Clue, in like typewriter face. And we absolutely shat ourselves the entire way through. I mean, knew nothing about the film, didn't know anything about it. But it's a really interesting movie. For anyone who hasn't seen it, which will be a lot of people.
Yeah, it's not that readily available in the States, but it is on YouTube.
It won't be ready. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's a weird one, because it's a very, in some respects, it's a very un-British film in that it's total high concept in terms of how you pitch it.
Yeah, completely.
You know what I mean? It's what if Watson was the clever one and Holmes was a kind of imposter, you know. So the setup of the whole thing is complete genius, which is Ben Kingsley, who up until this point has done what? Has he done Gandhi before this?
He's done Gandhi.
So he's done Gandhi, incredibly serious, you know, very highbrow sort of actor. And Michael Caine, who's sort of wandering around in his big 80s wilderness of dyed eyebrows.
Right, exactly. And Jaws 4.
And Jaws 4.
The Island.
Yeah, and various sort of, you know,
Swarm.
Yeah, various elements like that come together to do this movie, which is basically Watson is a very retiring doctor who happens to be a criminologist genius.
Right.
On the side, and when he gets involved with a particular case, he comes near. He explains at some point in the film that basically he came close to being exposed as this criminologist genius, and in order to avoid the exposure,
well, his hospital frowned on him.
And you know, but basically, it's actually a very convincing setup, because it's a very English Victorian thing that you know, the medical profession would not exactly smile on this bloke wandering around being a crime offender,
right?
And it's a very English thing not to draw attention to yourself, anyway.
Right.
And, you know, to shun the limelight. So he creates this character of Sherlock Holmes, and in order to fulfil the part, as all these people, he doesn't think anyone's going to ask him for it, but in the end, everyone begs him to meet this genius.
Right, which is based on real Holmes law, that everyone believed him to be real.
Yeah.
And in fact, people used to ask Arthur Conan Doyle, like, where's Holmes?
Yeah. So the setup of the film is that he has to create this character, and then when everyone begs him to meet him, he has to find someone to play this character. So he finds this drunk, useless actor called Reginald Kincaid.
Yeah.
And dresses him up in this ridiculous Sherlock Holmes outfit and feeds him lines, feeds him all the information that he's discovered about cases. So he's basically a complete charade. He's a front.
Right.
And the whole thing has, before the period where the film begins, the whole thing has grown completely out of control into this whole operation where Watson is playing basically the person who everyone ignores, this fool guy, to this egotistical, drunk idiot played by Michael Caine.
He's been at it again. I never liked that woman.
And what's brilliant about it is that Caine has spent his entire life doing these very sort of, you know, he spent the entire 80s, as we say, wallowing about in all this
I mean, he does the odd one. He does Educating Rita, he did Hannah and Her Sisters. He does, like...
Yeah, but these are serious roles. And this is a very comic performance. And
an awesome one.
Yeah. And I don't know that he's ever done another performance quite like it.
The closest is Educating Rita, and I guess that's the drunk thing.
Yeah, but never like I mean, he's a proper clown.
Yeah.
In this movie. I mean, Professor Bloody Moriarty.
Yeah. His real name is Artie Morty.
Yeah.
No, wait a minute.
So the whole setup is, it starts off with this case comes up where Holmes is basically forced to, or Gershel Kincaid, Michael Caine, is forced to take on this case himself, and it's about how this case unfolds, and he goes up against Professor Moriarty. Moriarty knows that Holmes is a fool, and so isn't at all worried about it.
But it's also a really good little case as well.
It's a great little case. It's a really well conceived little.
You have Jeffrey Jones
story with a sort of slightly sort of bawdy twist or whatever. But I think that's one of the reasons why the film really has to be given credit.
Right.
It is ridiculous that a film should be given credit on this basis.
Right.
Nevertheless, it never flops over into that Mrs.
Carry
tits
on.
out for the lads thing that so many British films
It borders
can't help.
on it. Okay.
It borders on it. It comes close. But for instance, a movie like Whoops Apocalypse, which is the same sort of era. There are all these like scenes in it where like. There were two girls jiggling up and down with their tits out, and you just think, this adds nothing.
And Ian Richardson stood right there, and you think to yourself, Ian Richardson, one of our country's finest actors, is there while the woman bounces up and down with her breasts.
But you really have to give the movie credit for not descending into that.
Right.
Like you say, it does come close. It's got Jeffrey Jones.
But she's very attractive, the Lindsay.
Yeah, she's gorgeous, and she's good as well.
Yeah.
I love the woman who plays Mrs. Hudson. She's been at it again. Because she's a drunk, so she's always drinking. He's hiding drink all over the place. Yeah. The Baker Street irregulars are all brilliant. But the real revelation of it for me is Ben Kingsley.
Right.
Because he does this brilliant turn of this frustrated guy who has created the ultimate rod for his own back.
Yeah, completely.
And the whole movie really is about him and the fact that he's lumbered with this fuckwit that he has to keep on making excuses for.
Are we talking of the same man who once declared with total conviction that the late Colonel Howard had been bludgeoned to death by blunt excrement?
Is it my fault if you have such poor handwriting?
Oh, the scenes with just those two in it are unbelievably wonderful and delightful for the performances and the dialogue and the jokes. Like you say, Ben Kingsley plays it between, almost the eye-twitching, nervous, any minute I'm going to explode, to actually exploding. Yeah. To then realising, obviously at the end, because there is a buddy comedy bit in there is a sort of adventure type romp about it as well. Sort of realising, at a certain point towards the end that, really he kind of needs him a bit as well,
Yeah, because what's really nice about it is, and the thing he needs is, he doesn't need anything from him intellectually, but there is a friendship there,
right?
And there's a brilliant. Because basically they have a big falling out at one point in the movie. This isn't giving anything away. They have a big falling out, which he then has to. Watson tries to say, look, forget. A guy comes to him with a case, and Watson tries to say, look, forget Holmes. I'm the bloody brain. I'll sort it out for you. And
the crime doctor.
The bloke says, I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. I need Sherlock Holmes. So he has to go and dig out Holmes and restart all this nonsense that he thought he'd just rid himself of.
But there's a great scene with Peter Cook as the Strand magazine.
Yeah, sit down, John. There's this brilliant scene where they have to. Yeah, where they.
Did you want another beer?
Yeah, I'd have another beer. Yeah.
Sorry, man. Oh yeah. Can we get another Sam Adams and some more water? That'd be great. Thank you. Yes, thank you.
The thing which really, I think the scene which really sums up this really nice little friendship they've got going on is when they go to the original crime scene where this bloke was drowned, and he's walking along saying, right, what are we? And Holmes is saying, right, what are we looking for? Clues, right? Where should I be looking? and they're walking along next to each other, and Watson is very calmly, very nicely saying, look at this, look over there, do this, do that, and they have this whole system worked out. And it's one of those things where it's a really delightful little box of tricks that they open up for you as the movie goes on about this system that Watson and Holmes have, where
to lead Lestrade off the case.
Yeah.
They have bumbling Kane go off.
Holmes goes off and like says, no, this is very interesting, and looks at like a footprint with a magnifying glass.
Right. Or a dust in a fireplace.
But also stuff like...
Thanks, man, thank you.
But also stuff like Watson has this signal thing. You know, they have these signals worked out so that while someone's sort of quizzing Holmes and going amazing about the various things he comes up.
I love that guy.
And Watson will be in the background signalling that there were 3 people and
did
that. And it's really, really nice. And the other thing which is really good about it, which again, it's that weird thing of like, even though it's an outrageous thing, there are like weirdly touching, kind of believable elements to it. Is that Holmes is is kind of tortured by it as well, because he hates having to memorise all these facts and these figures, and he has this brilliant little speech he does about, do you have any idea what it's like for me?
I don't believe that either of you realise what pressure I'm under. Do you know what it's like to commit to memory a never-ending list of clues and deductions to be parroted back to Lestrade and reporters? Bloodstains on the toothpick, cigar ash, new soil in the garden next door. Endless twaddle! Twaddle?
Are you referring to the systematic gathering of evidence and the logical deductions based thereon?
I am referring to twaddle. And you would be well served, Watson, to include fewer of these dreary details in future chronicles and place greater emphasis on me. I am, after all, the one the public really cares about.
And it's just very, very well done.
It's one of my favourite comedies.
It's definitely one of my favourite.
Of all time.
Definitely one of my favourite comedies.
And it's a hit. In fact, I'm surprised how little people know of Michael Caine over here. I always assumed Michael Caine was like this international star, but actually living here, you know, I mean, obviously, they know weird shit. Like, they know Jaws 4. Like, they think of him as the guy in Jaws 4, or later stuff like The Cider House Rules or whatever. They don't really think of him as this iconic British actor. I mean, he's been one of our most successful British actors for 40, 50 years almost.
Yeah, but this is, you know, if anyone said to me, the funny thing is that if any, I mean, we are both people with a comedy lead in. There's no doubt about that. But if anyone said to me, you know, right, you have to sit down in a room and watch a Michael Caine film, without a clue would be the first thing that pops in my head. It doesn't, you know, Get Carter, wouldn't pop into my head. I mean, it would, but the one that would come in
Ipcress File is possibly a close
Ipcress File would probably come second, yeah. But again, Ipcress File is a tough spy drama, and it's not an easy watch by any means. It's got all that surreal 60s stuff going on in it. This is just it belongs. It's a British entry into that brilliant scene of 80s comedies.
Yeah.
And there are hardly any, because most British comedy in the 80s is abysmal. I mean, really, really bad. Or has loads of really good stuff in it, but is crippled by that misses, like Carry On hangover that lasted for so long. I mean, it's interesting that, you know, I mean, maybe I'm a bit... Apart from outside of the Cornetto trilogy, is anyone making British comedy now? Movies?
Well, Alan Partridge. Have you seen the new trailer for that?
Oh, yeah. No, Alan Partridge.
The new trailer for Alpha Pound.
Really good.
I put up on Facebook the other day, I was like, you know what? Stuff the World's End. This is the British comedy I want to see this year. Because that new trailer where the guy goes, have you seen that one where the fat lady falls off the thing? So they open up the laptop and he's watching it and he does the perfect Partridge gag. He goes, that is funny. Of course, that should have been properly secured, but I'm glad it wasn't. It's really well done.
The only thing I find weird about Partridge is that, and it's one of these things that bothers me and probably bothers absolutely no one else, but he should look older. He looks kind of young. In the
movie, because in the TV series...
But in all of the Norfolk Digital stuff he did online, he looks much younger as well.
Well, that's weird, because in the other TV episodes he got grey hair.
Yeah, he got grey hair and he was fat and he was an older man. And now he doesn't look like a man in his 50s. Do you know what I mean?
No, they've given him long hair.
Long black hair, which to me reeks of him saying, I've got these other movie projects on and I don't want to do it, kind of a thing, or something like that.
No. It reeks of if he really looked like he's meant to look, which is basically Terry Wogan in a park around a pack. That's basically what he's meant to look like.
Well, I'm glad you think the same thing, because I do think
if he
looks
looked like
weirdly
that,
young.
I think they would have difficulty selling abroad. I honestly think that's it.
They're selling it abroad anyway now, aren't they?
No, because they've done a trailer that looks like Hot Fuzz 2. I mean, that's what it looks like.
It does look really good. I mean, I am proper shocked, and so happily so.
He goes, I don't want to say anything, but your hair doesn't look a bit like an explosion.
Yeah.
And it's got what I like about it is I think it's going to be Hot Fuzz up to the max for like the action and stuff like that. And I don't so mind that. What I like is, from a glimpse in the trailer, it's got all the returning cast, because it's got the Geordie guys back, and Lynn is back. It looks really, really good.
It looks really surprisingly good.
Unless they've shown all the funny bits in the trailer. But
I think it's really encouraging, because I think it's very encouraging.
Well, you know that people like Ben Stiller and people like that are big fans of Coogan.
Yeah.
You know that he's known, like, amongst the comedy gentry in America, he's known very well.
Yeah.
That's why he crops up in, like, Tropic Thunder and these other movies. But no, you're right, there isn't, like, a big wave of British comedy. And actually, when you were saying, like, at the end of the 80s, it's still having that carry-on hangover, if you look at, like, the two most popular British comedies at the time, which is Four Weddings and a Funeral and Fishkill Wonder, they both have a lot of sex and sex talk and kind of bad sex humour in them.
Yeah, they've got John Cleese holding a photo of a wife over his cock.
Well, not only that, but look at the Otto and...
well, that I don't mind.
Sex scene.
That I don't mind. It's the ooh thing that I don't mind.
Right.
It's so sort of... It doesn't work. It's never worked. It's never been funny to go ooh. Kenneth Williams. The only person who ever did it funny was Kenneth Williams, and it was only funny once, Kenneth. You know?
In Carry On Screaming.
Or whatever.
That was about it. Or whatever.
I've never got more than 4 minutes to a Carry On movie because they're shit.
Carry On Screaming is good.
But to be fair, Four Weddings and a Funeral, I thought Four Weddings and a Funeral was really good. I thought it was a big surprise at the time, Four Weddings and a Funeral.
No, it was. But you only have to look
at... And it wasn't really a comedy, really. It was
you only have to look at Love Actually, and he has that whole subplot where Hobbit guy...
I've never seen Love Actually.
Well, there's a whole section in it where basically Martin Freeman and this other blonde bird are just naked throughout the whole thing, and it's almost like British people just can't... They're so repressed.
Terry Jones.
Just can't... Yeah, Terry Jones.
Just itching to get naked.
They can't make a thing without nudity. And I'm not against nudity, but it doesn't really belong in comedy. It does kind of grind the comedy to a halt.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
When it's... This is full frontal. You see her tits and everything in Love Actually. And it's not played sexually. It's played... They're stand-ins for a movie. And they're lighting stand-ins for what's meant to be this big exotic sex scene that's going to happen in this movie. And, you know, they're talking about, like, the traffic on the M25 and stuff like that. But the humour is two naked people talking about traffic. I mean, the nudity kind of takes away from the modicum of boring humour.
Yeah.
In fact, it's always annoying to me that Curtis has gone that route rather than doing, where's... I don't want Black out of the movie, but where's that, like, biting sarcasm, wit, anger? Where's that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the guys should... I mean, it's something which I've never, ever...
I wonder if Graham Linehan's going to start doing movies.
Yeah, you see, I think he could do... I mean, he is... I would hope he's still had it in him, because he went through a stage of just producing solid gold all the time. I don't know quite that he's still there, but I'd love to see him have a go. I'd love to see him.
But the IT crowd was huge because, of course, Chris O'Dowd is now in everything.
Yeah.
Chris O'Dowd is in the new Christopher Guest movie. He was in Bridesmaids. He's in another thing.
The guys who did, that really weird show about the village or whatever, the League of Gentlemen. They did a movie.
Yeah, that's awful.
Which I think completely bombed.
Well, no, they did the League of Gentlemen movie, but they've done something else since then. They've done another movie or another feature-length thing.
I didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah.
See, I haven't seen them, so I mean...
There is all, like, gooey, dark, sex, weird, bum humour. It's not...
Yeah, it's never caught my imagination at all. But I mean, maybe that sort of reflects a thing at the moment. Actually, I mean, I don't think there's a huge amount of good comedy being done at the moment. I mean, so many films. I mean, that film.
The Christopher Guest series is really good. Family Tree, it is really.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about movies, though.
But you see, that shows something like what Spielberg was talking about. Guest was like pumping out these movies, being really successful with his For Your Consideration and Waiting for Guffman and Mighty Wind and all that. And the next thing he does is a TV series for HBO. It's kind of telling, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it is, yeah.
Because he did 4 big... I mean, I don't think Guffman was so big, but the other Best in Show was big.
Yeah.
And Mighty Wind was really big.
Yeah.
I think the only person who's still pumping it out there is Gervais, and... I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not really making his own films, though, is he?
No, he just does TV series about stuff that you've seen before.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot of comedy going on, but it does. That's what's nice about Without a Clue, is that it shows that it can be done. Like great movies can be made,
and it doesn't have to be an established comedy group. I think nowadays they're always looking for like comedians.
Yeah, that's really true.
This was like a strong script that was given to 2 of our best actors, 2 of Britain's best actors.
And you kind of get the impression, I mean, I don't know the story behind that, but you kind of get the impression like they were available, they were very much available.
Right, completely. Yeah. Well, Kane was showing up for bread rolls and a chocolate bar at that time, you know.
Yeah.
So I liken Michael Caine to Nicolas Cage. I think Kane is like the British Cage, because he just shows up in
That's not a bad call.
anything.
Yeah.
Literally a Battenberg cake and a cup of tea, and Kane's your man.
Yeah. But no, that's very true, is that it doesn't need to be a renowned comedy person's project.
No,
it
not
can be
at all.
a strong script,
right,
with some excellent actors having fun with it, you know.
I mean, people think of Downey Jr. as a comedic actor now because of Iron Man, but he wasn't always that.
No.
You know, Gibson used to be very funny in The Lethal Weapons. He's got a very quick mind, but then would do a serious role. Like, I don't know why more like actor. In fact, what is nice, what I will give Peg, Frost, and Wright credit for, is getting people like Constantine, Paddy Constantine, and getting people like Freeman and people like that to like do more comedic stuff.
Yeah.
Bill Nye and Timothy Spall's kid, what's his name? Ralph Ray.
Yeah.
Spall, and like having them in it.
I mean, what do you think? Because when I saw that trailer,
I think it looks poor.
Well, when I saw that trailer, I thought, oh dear, for the first.
We've got a real problem as well because the new Seth Rogen movie's a hit.
Really? Well, when I saw
this is the end of the hit.
When I saw the first 30 seconds, I thought, oh dear. And the reason I thought, oh dear, was that I thought it opens up that trailer with like, or the trailer I saw with like 3 or 4 peg lines, and I thought they were all absolutely dreadful. But then the second half of the trailer picked up a bit for me.
With all the
whole
invasion of the body snatcher stuff,
thing,
yeah.
And I actually laughed a couple of times, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe there is a bit more to it. What worries me about it is Peg, because he looks really... nowadays he looks really sort of wiry and sort of... and he looks quite odd in it. You know, doesn't he? He looks odd.
And they've given him like black crazy hair and stuff like that. He's meant to be like a Wisnell character almost.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes, because that was a really weird trailer experience for me. You know, starting off thinking, oh god.
Well, what was surprising about the body snatcher thing was that they revealed it.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
I don't think they should have done that.
Well, do you know what? They wouldn't have done it in an ideal world. That's their company saying you've got to.
Because I would have loved to have gone along to the thing and thought it was more of a sort of Wicker Man type deal where like just people in the town were weird.
Yeah.
And then have it revealed that there were these like glowing aliens.
Like, because when I first saw, I mean, and it's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. But when I first saw From Dusk Till Dawn, I had no idea about what was going to happen in the second half of that movie.
Right.
Now, I don't know what happened in the trailer from Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, no, it does reveal it.
Does it? Oh, okay.
And the posters had them like...
I mean, this is an argument for not watching bloody trailers, to be honest. It is a strong argument for not watching trailers. The trouble is they do sort of pull on your boredom, trailers, and you go like, so many times I go like, I've got 10 minutes to kill, I don't really know what to do with myself, I'll go to Apple trailers and watch what's on there, which it is dumb actually. You should totally go to movies not having watched trailers. You should just go and have a surprise, you know?
Yeah, what was it I went... I know you didn't think much of it, but the last 2 Cruise movies I've seen, Jack Reacher and Oblivion, I didn't see a lot of the trailers. I mean, I saw Morgan Freeman lighting a cigar in the darkness. But
that could have been the whole trailer.
Right, that could have been the whole... Well, I think it was. I was like, what's all this business? Wait a minute, Morgan Freeman lighting a cigar with brown glasses. And I didn't see a lot about those, and I didn't read a lot about those. And when I went and saw them, I enjoyed them both a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't so keen on Reacher, but I did like Oblivion, yeah.
But no, Without a Clue definitely needs to be checked out.
It's a great movie, and
it's a template. You're right for doing more things like that. And there's plenty of. I mean, I'm not suggesting do it with like literary characters, but there's plenty of characters from history or whatever you could draw on if you wanted to.
Yeah, but it's a very clever. I mean, it's. I think it deserves a lot of credit for doing so. You know, it's one of those. It's one of those movies where you sort of, as a writer, you watch it and go, "Oh, it all seems so obvious. Isn't it obvious to do a Sherlock Holmes with Ashley Holmes is a complete fool and blah 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 blah?" But actually, it's not obvious. It's a very clever idea.
Yeah.
And those are not that common, you know. So perhaps we should just celebrate it for that. I don't know.
Well, no. High concept ideas, while they were popular in the 80s, you know, stuff like Vice Versa, the father becomes the child or whatever, or Big, or Groundhog Day, or whatever it is, they've kind of run out. Like, you don't get those kind of high concepts anymore where you could describe the movie in a sentence.
No, not
I mean, it was the last comedy you saw where you could go, well, it's this, you know, in a sentence.
But the other reason to watch Without a Clue for, you know, for anyone who is looking for an introduction to Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley, it's a great way to get into it. And then from that you can go and learn about the other things that they've done, because they are both guys, in terms of their film careers I'm talking about, who have had such a mixed bag of stuff. But within their mixed bag are some great stuff. I mean, for someone like Ben Kingsley, his performance in Sexy Beast is outrageously good. Then there's other stuff where perhaps he's not so good, but it's another great little B-movie sleeper like Sneakers.
Right.
Then for Michael Caine, I would probably... Yeah, there's other racy stuff, like you say, like Educating Rita and stuff, but the stuff that I really love, the stuff that I don't watch enough, is things like The Man Who Would Be King.
Right. Well,
yeah, I mean,
60s, 70s stuff?
Yeah, but I mean, The Man Who Would Be King is a great movie, which I don't watch half as much as I should do. I mean,
his 60s stuff, although they're considered classics in England, are patchy. I mean, Alfie is patchy and too long.
Yeah. Ipcress Files is a great movie.
Ipcress Files great.
The other ones are shocking.
What
I mean, Funeral in Berlin is okay.
Oh yeah, but then they get Ken Russell to take over and all becomes a bit of a nightmare.
But you know, there are great films to be had from both of those guys. I mean, Kane's performance in Hannah and Her Sisters is another comedy performance, but it's a very different, more subtle kind of comedy performance. Right. My mum absolutely loved that Michael Caine performance, and I still remember her saying to me...
Well, he won an Oscar, that's what he got his first Oscar for.
But my mum says... but I still remember my mum saying to me, I know blokes like that, and it's just like, it's the most believable... it's one of the most... My mum always said it's one of the most believable portraits of a guy, a middle-aged man making a complete fool out of himself that she's ever seen.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Without any like pratfalls or egg on your face moments, just
it's
with
none of that,
subtle underpinning. I mean,
and also, if you want another comedy performance of a very different kind, you can watch Michael Caine's acting class,
which is hilarious.
One of
is
the
that
most
on YouTube
unintentionally hilarious things. But I'm sure it's on YouTube. Yeah. That is one of the most unintentionally hilarious
things. Where the camera comes in close, you don't blink. There's no blinking in close-ups.
I always say, theatre acting is acting with a scalpel. Movie acting is acting with a laser. Oh, brilliant! I'm sorted now. Thanks, Michael. my career will now take off. I'll think laser when I go, and that'll make all the difference. I mean, it is really.
It's the fact that he's wearing a leather jacket as well,
and his hair is at its most oily and curly.
Yeah, he's wearing like
How
a
does
leather...
he even achieve that haircut? Because it can't do that naturally. I've never seen anyone that sort of straight
Wavy.
down to here and then it goes all curly.
No, that's his hair. That's just his hair. That is just.
I know we do obsess over people's hair too much.
No, I don't think we do. I don't think we obsess enough about it.
But it's very, very odd, that hair. And he's wearing this leather jacket and jeans, and he's going around, and he's basically talking bollocks.
Talking dribble.
Like an hour. It's proper bollocks. And all these people are like completely hanging off his every word.
Yeah.
He's wearing his largest possible glasses. I mean, they're practically down to his mouth. I think the thing which is a shame is that, you know, we're talking about the sort of British comedy thing. I mean, we're talking about, you know, Hollywood classic, but I mean, something like Without a Clue is such an exception to the rule. I mean, there's very little good comedy movies that come out of England, and there is so much. And what we've been talking about all these different characters. There's a lot of talent there. There is a lot of talent there, and I think maybe, you know, one of the perhaps dodgy legacies of Python is that it has led to exactly what we were talking about, that endless search for some comedy troupe who can produce this thing that they write and they direct and they, you know, and it's all there, blah, 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 blah.
Chris Morris did Four Lions. Has he got another thing? I know
he has another thing.
I know he works every 10 years.
To be honest, it's very brave and everything, Four Lions, but I didn't think it was very funny.
No, I didn't think it was. Jim loved it, but I didn't think it was very good.
I didn't think it was very funny. No. I mean, I can't say that I even laughed out loud.
I laughed more at his character in the IT Crowd the first season. He was amazing.
Yeah, he was brilliant. Yeah.
I see, the funny thing about Morris is I know he wants to be like a big comedy auteur, and I know he feels the pressure to constantly like one-up him because he's constantly from the day-to-day to Brass Eye to Jam and whatever.
Yeah.
Blue Jam. I know that he's constantly tried to kind of out-crazy himself. But what I like about Morris is Morris as a performer. I think Morris as a performer is really, really interesting.
Yeah, he's great, yeah.
He's like the closest thing we've come to a kind of John Cleese figure. Like John Cleese at his best.
Yeah.
In the fact that Morris can be utterly, cuttingly cruel, but it can be hilarious. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
The day-to-day should just be shown on repeat at all times.
Absolutely,
it's so funny, that show.
Yeah.
And
you know that Kevin Eldon had his own show.
Oh, really?
He's had his own show in Britain, and what I really like...
I love Eldon.
The reason why I think it's totally fair for people to have... You know, there's a lot of talk about how, you know, TV is going to become so much more important than movies and everything, and I agree with that, because it is pretty incredible that they have let him make this show.
Is it bad?
It's the most hit and miss thing I've ever seen in my life. But I like that. I like it. It's unbelievably hit and miss. It is kind of a sketch show.
Because all sketch shows
really,
are hit and miss.
Really weird. I mean, it's very, very weird. And when it's missed, it's not that it's missing so much as it's really disturbing and odd. And
like Blue Jammy.
Yeah, very Blue Jammy, yeah. But when it's funny, it's really, really, really good. And he's a great performer as well.
I loved Eldon in Hot Fuzz.
Instead of trying to get those people and Peg and all that sort of stuff, you know, I'm sure that I think there's a huge pool of talent in Britain, probably producing great comedy movie scripts, or it could be put together to produce great comedy movie scripts, and then, you know, pick some of these people to be in it, and then get more interesting people in it, you know, like people who are just actors who might give you something a bit different. Or don't use any of those people, you know, just use, you know, your Kingsleys and your Kanes of today, wherever they may be. Bring them in, you know. But it is very striking that, and this is not just an English thing, this is like very much an American thing as well, that people, you know, we used to do, like, movies in general, never mind comedies, movies in general used to get made with, frankly, slightly podgy, funny-looking, middle-aged people in main roles, and that just does not happen now.
No.
You know, it's very much about...
Well, we've spoken on the Woods and Weller thing. Neither of them now would be a leading man if they were
Well,
up and
someone
coming.
like Shannon gives you a bit of hope, you know, because he's a funny-looking bugger.
Yeah, but he's a...
Oh,
okay,
come on.
but-
Michael Shannon's a funny-looking bugger.
Well, most women would now not agree with you because they all fancy him. Yeah.
Well, maybe now they do, but he's a funny-looking bugger. But you know, but in general, there's a big thing about, you know, youth kind of a thing, and I think it's you know, perhaps we could give ourselves a break and realise that we're not all sort of. I think Friends did, you know, things like Friends did quite a lot of damage in terms of, because Friends was quite clever in that it managed to be, for the first couple of series anyway, it managed to be quite funny with very
pretty.
gorgeous
Right.
people. But you know, Seinfeld, you know, no one in Seinfeld was conventionally good looking.
I think the funniest
I've
thing
had the
about-
hots for the girl in Seinfeld since I
Oh,
first saw it.
Jude Dreyfus, whatever. But I think, like, one of the biggest jokes to me in Seinfeld is the fact that for 9 seasons he has a string of drop-dead gorgeous model quality girlfriends, and he's this curly-haired, big-nosed, big-toothed goon who wears like roll necks tucked into his tight 80s tie-wad jeans.
With white trainers.
Yeah, with white trainers.
Yeah. And this funny little fat man called George and this weird-ass mad-haired bloke. Yeah. There's you know, we need to sort of, I think people need to realise a bit more that, you know, funny is often weird-looking and fat.
Well, do you think now, like, because obviously there was a big thing during the financial crisis, the whole financial divide. You had very rich, very poor, and a dwindling middle class. And it seems to be now you have either incredible big budget movies or very, very low budget movies. And it seems like now as well that you have either very old actors or very young actors. There doesn't seem to be a middle road.
Again,
or am I clutching at something?
Well, no. I am always cautious about saying this stuff because, you know, there is that thing of sort of you get a bit older and you tend to think that, like, oh, it isn't as good as it was in my day, kind of a thing.
But it isn't.
But it clearly is. But I don't know. I think that maybe. I'm trying to think of what it was. I was watching a particular movie the other day, and I thought this just wouldn't be cast like this now. There's absolutely no doubt that this would not be cast like this now. I'm trying to think of what it was.
But look at it. People like Hanks. What's Hanks doing? Cage is
Well,
like
Hanks did
relegated to that.
Hanks did that absolutely bonkers.
Well, yeah, but
David Mitchell had Cloud Atlas. So there's a huge amount of talent, and it's just a shame that it doesn't get used better. I mean, but it's hard to do, isn't it? Because someone like, I can't remember his name now, but the main guy from Arrested Development. Jason Bateman. Now, there is a guy who, for me, is actually not a funny man, but a good actor who found a perfect niche in a comedy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think he's a comedian.
No.
And I don't think it works that he should only be in comedies. I think he's a good actor. He just doesn't need to be in comedies, but he is condemned to make a load of, like, zany comedy. And that new one that he did with, like, Identity, you just saw the trailer and you went, oh, Jason, bloody hell, really? Is that what's it come to?
Well, they're putting her in everything. Since Bridesmaids, this is what I mean. They don't have an idea. Like, since Bridesmaids, and I like.
But it is hard. It's hard to find the right combination, isn't it? I mean, it really is.
But that's because they're only picking from seemingly 10 people.
Well, that's true.
And not only that, but like something like Bridesmaids, the tragedy of something like Bridesmaids was that there was clearly a very well observed script there
I've not seen that.
about women and their friendships and their hang-ups and their paranoias and their, you know, dealing with marriage and all the rest of it, which would have been very clever and very fun. And then it felt like to me, and I've not read the original script that Annie Mumolo and Kristen Wiig wrote, it felt like to me that Apatow came in with all the like, oh, we've got to get a drunk on a plane and we've got to have them all shit themselves while they're wearing bridesmaids dresses, and he came in with all these like big bawdy set pieces. And it's like, this is the other thing about Without a Clue, there's no big set piece, it's just a story.
Yeah.
It's not you're like, and now here's a comedy set piece. Like, comedies these days have become connecting scenes to the next big set piece, and it's like, that's not really what it's about. It's more interesting when you're telling a character-driven story.
Yeah.
That's why I think people still go back to Woody's movies time and time again, because at least he just tries each time to tell like a character-driven story.
Yeah.
Even if it's now, once every 5
Well, now it's just like, for God's sake, just take the good jokes from 5 of your scripts.
I know, but it's very telling. He has that drawer full of ideas, he pulls one out and he just writes that. He doesn't even bother looking at the rest of the ideas in the drawer.
No, he doesn't, does he?
But
the Woodster.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like Bridesmaids you need to get rid of the set pieces and just tell the interesting story.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that's right. Yeah. It's obviously extremely difficult to, the reason why we've talked about it is that Without a Clue is so special because, first of all, it's a British comedy that's successful, and they are rare. It doesn't matter how you slice it.
Also, you'd never be able to make it today. It would cost Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes type money now to make that movie.
Yeah. And you'd have to have action and set pieces, like you say.
Right.
But
another problem with the Sherlock Holmes movies that Ritchie did is like it has to be like set piece to set piece to set piece. Like, just tell us the story, it's fine. Like I was sat down watching Superman 1 the other day, and although it does fall apart towards the end, what's interesting about Superman 1 is it's the first hour and 15 minutes, and doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just setting up the characters and the story and the plot. And it's endlessly watchable.
Yeah. Yeah. But the reason why we've talked about that is, it is a rare thing, especially in Britain. It is a rare thing to have something that is so well written and so tight and so successful, and that hasn't been made off the back of these guys had a successful television series, so we've given them a movie.
Right.
So it really is a curio and an oddity, and it makes it even stranger to me that hardly anyone in Britain, let alone in the US, knows of it or has seen it.
No. And if anything
presumably
else,
because of marketing, as much as that
and
it makes me want to shoot myself to say that.
And if the After Movie Diner is about anything, it's about movies that nobody has ever seen. Because if anything is going to propel this podcast to the dizzying heights of popularity, it's going to be discussing movies nobody has ever seen.
Well, I think we might have to leave it there because I need to visit the diner convenience.
Right. That will be a $10 charge. Because and you'll have to clean up your own mess.
Yes. Or just leak through the plate glass window into a cab.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's always a possibility.
As many people do leave the diner.
It does. That's how we leave the diner. But no, thank you for discussing Without a Clue in British comedy with me today, John. It's been a thrill.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to discuss.
We're doing it in person. In New York City.
Yeah. We're discussing British 80s films that no one's seen.
Yeah.
And British comedy, which is cool.
This is what the diner specialises in. Anyway, that's fantastic. Thank you very much, sir. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so that was the show. What did you think? Did you like it being in a diner? Please let us know. We want to hear from you. aftermoviediner@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail. There is a link on our page, amdpodcast.blogspot.com, or on our Facebook page. You can leave us a voicemail on SpeakPipe. So please go ahead and do that. Let us know what you thought about the show this week being in a diner. I had great fun. I'd like to repeat it with some other guests, so please do let me know. So saying that, thanks ever so much for everyone writing in. Thanks everyone for listening to the show. We've got a couple of promos now, and then following those promos, we have a brand new song from an album that I'm currently working on. So if you want some music, please stick around. Just a couple of adverts, and then the song. Thanks again for listening. Have a good time. Take care.
Hi there, I'm a Gumbo, and I'm with the Traumatic Cinematic Show. We're a podcast that talks about films. Yeah, we'd like to invite you to come listen to our show. You can find us at traumaticcinematic.com. You can also find us on Twitter at DC Podcast Crew. Also, you should come over and check out our Podomatic page, traumaticcinematic.podomatic.com. We're also on Facebook, so you can come on out there and find us too. I'm on the internet.
I know you. I'm watching you right now. Not really. Or maybe I am. However, I guess you're sat there late at night, probably not wearing much and scratching yourself, scouring some podcast-providing service, desperate to find the one glimmer of hope in a sea of blabbermouth halflings expounding their opinions to nobody. You like B-movies, but which B-movie podcast do you pick? Well, look no further. Bypass the rows and rows of other shiny shows and delve instead into the beautiful and brilliant B-movie bargain bin. You know how you know it's good? No, it's not just the beards the hosts have, although that's a definite plus. It's the films, it's the fun, it's the fact that by listening to the show, you can also get a discount at cheesyflix.com. That's right, a full, fantastic, knowledgeable B-movie podcast and actual bargains on B-movies. That's once a month at bmoviebargainbin.com. 2 men, 2 beards, 2 films, 1 show, the B-movie bargain bin.
Percy poked his peepers from behind the Venetian, the world smacked him in the face like he was staring at creation. Later on the nightstand, talked of adventures stained with liquor, but if she stayed she was afraid he'd just try to drink her. And now she's on the highway with a thumb out trying to get to Michigan. He swears that's the last time he'll ever give a stranger a kiss again. Leaving through the laundry landing in the Chevrolet, he curses at the car till the engine starts and carries him away. No more motels, no more bars, he mutters at himself. I just want the open road, the light is low, my happiness is health. The mountains grow up to meet him, to shield him from the smoking cities. He'll make his home high above the foam, deep within Washington's trees. Stars were wrapped, his belly was full with a good roadside meal. And sometimes in passing he can picture her asking, where do you think you're going? Don't you think the future is worth contemplating? And he says no, thinking of the future will only make you worry about where we go. I have no fear, I'm happy right here. You better know, my dear, not to have any fear, 'cause I'm happy right here. Robbing stores and robbing banks, his daughter then the chickens. But the experience will fail when followed by betrayal, and then the plot just thickens. But a change of name, a change of heart, left him free in the northwestern breezes. Where on the porch with a pipe and his ukulele, he can do just what he pleases, what he pleases. And all of the appeal he could really feel when the stars were out and his belly was full with a good roadside meal. And sometimes in passing he could picture her asking now, where do you think you're going? Don't you think the future is worth contemplating? And he says no, oh he says no, thinking of the future will only make you worry about where to go. But have no fear, I'm happy right here. Oh come on my dear, have no fear. Oh, I'm happy right here. I'm telling you please, have no fear, I'm happy right here. I'm happy right here.
There are men, and then there are second unit podcast men. The podcast you've just been listening to is part of the Second Unit Podcast Network. Find all of our shows at 2upn.blogspot.com or on Facebook under the Second Unit Podcast Network. Our fantastic list of shows include Drunk on VHS, We Came from the Basement, No Budget Nightmares, The After Movie Diner, Dr. Action and the Kick-Ass Kid, and bloodbaths and boomsticks. Take one podcast into the shower. Don't be a blithering idiot, Alan. We can give you the multiple podcast cleansing system all in one place that your hair deserves. Our programming is available across all platforms, from iTunes to Podomatic, TalkShoe to Stitcher, so you have absolutely no excuse. Listen today, and a free naked person of your choice will be shipped from Thailand to your door in a matter of weeks. The Second Unit Podcast Network, bringing you the action and leaving the boring stuff to the other guys. Bloody hell. Who does a girl have to blow around here to get a decent beverage?